I've been involved with Keep It Live since the very first one, which was in October, I think. Well, basically, Calvin and Coco, like, they're both friends of mine. And when I heard that they were gonna do a jam, I just told Calvin that, you know, I can help with whatever he needs help with, because we had just talked about like doing. I mean, actually, I volunteered with Calvin doing other things before. So yeah, and then for the first one, I was pretty much just helping out at the door, and then doing the whole Vanna White thing, whatever. No like official title or anything, and then it went really well, and so I stayed with it, and it was really like just good working dynamic and everything. Well, then I had like an official title, which was event coordinator, which is kind of cool, I did more of kind of like, rather than just helping out the door or something, I did more like overseeing and like kind of like making sure that we stay on schedule, and working with like George as the MC and Coco to make sure that, you know, everything goes right.
At some point, I think Calvin had been talking to me a lot about kind of like what the dance scene needs, and we would kind of have these powwows, and so like after months and months of powwowing, we kind of, you know, him and Coco formed Keep It Live, and kind of as a company vision was kind of to bring a higher level of professionalism to the street dance world, and establish something that was more just together. And specifically, I asked if I could do hosting or emceeing, because I feel like in a bunch of other organizations that I've been with, I mean, you know, my job is I'm a teacher, and I talk for a living, and I mean, and I love talking. Like, I'm very good at public speaking, and I feel like in a whole host of other organizations I've been involved in, it was always somebody else getting tapped to do that, and a lot of times doing an inferior job to like what I knew that I could provide. So I was really kind of excited to test the waters with Keep It Live and see if I could do that. Sometimes the biggest problem you get in jams with the person hosting is that like they'll get on the mic and I don't know what's going on, I don't know what's happening, and it's kind of like that really lets everybody gets confused. And when you have confusion, it's like the energy level kind of goes from here to like here, and then if you pretty much don't get something happening pretty fast where you know what's happening, the energy level just kind of keep dropping. You know, it's like entropy, you know, it just keeps going down. So like what I try to do is I try to keep the energy high. I tried to be entertaining. Since I'm so familiar with almost all the dancers that were entering, and I really also made it my point, if there was a dancer I wasn't familiar with who entered, I made sure to go find them before the jam, introduce myself, get their name, you know, and then make sure that I could pronounce it correctly. Like I remember we had 2 dancers from Japan in the first Keep It Live, and I wanted to make sure that I knew how to pronounce their names correctly. So, you know, I made sure I did that. I also know what crews are in the house, so I shout out crews when they come in. I wanted everybody to feel like they were welcome there. And I also made it my goal to be like a disseminator of information. What was gonna happen next, what events were coming up. You know, we had a couple events where we ended up promoting, or I ended up, you know, giving the dates and information for other events that were coming up that were not directly affiliated or not done by Keep It Live, but were kind of related to us because they were done by different friends or other groups. Truth of Popping, How the West Was Won, etc. And the last role I saw is being kind of a gatekeeper and a timekeeper for the battles, like really making sure, because another thing I really can't stand is when you have battles, especially with a lot of international people, and the MC doesn't keep time, or it doesn't call time, or at least, you know, they don't say it clearly and whatever, and so you have some guy from some other country who's just dancing his heart out, but then he ends up kind of looking, you know, a little silly because like the guy's like, time's up, you know, homie, you're done, you know, like the guy doesn't understand English. So I would make sure to give a countdown so that they knew when their round was over. And you know, because that contributes to good organization too, and making sure the jam moves smoothly. Just because then nobody goes over, nobody, you know, whatever.
I'm already really good friends with a lot of the team. Like George and I are very good friends. Calvin, Coco, and like I think just from the get, like there was just a level of respect for everyone because the leaders were just very good leaders, and the organization and the professionalism was already there from the beginning, and it was set. It was like the foundation, and like so when you have that as a foundation, like, and when I have to, like as the coordinator, like if I have to, you know, tell someone or ask someone to do something, like because there's already the understanding of like, you know, this is my title, like I'm not just, you know, bossing you around or something, then everyone was just really easy to work with, and especially with George because we had to communicate a lot, and and like fortunately we're already like very good friends. So honestly, I mean, challenges, there wasn't a whole lot of challenges, to be honest. Challenges might have been communicating with the judges, but because that was also part of my role. But honestly, I mean, that wasn't even like that difficult. I think because everyone came into the team, whether it be like the staff, like the volunteer crew or the judges, like everyone was brought into it with a level of professionalism, and thanks to Calvin and Coco, like that was already set from the beginning. And I think when you have that as a foundation, everything else works pretty smoothly. At least in our case, it did.
The one thing that I got a very clear sense of coming into this is that, like, the leaders of Keep It Alive, Calvin, Coco, like, they very much had a clear mission in terms of what they were trying to do with the events, and like therefore, like, you know, everybody also came in with a clear understanding of what this was about. This wasn't just about one person being like, yeah, I'm cool, everybody's gonna do what I say. You know, it was more like we're all trying to do this, we're all going after this one thing. And like, it was cool because it didn't really necessarily, like, the people who, there were a lot of people in our volunteers staff that were not dancers, or at least there were several. And like, it wasn't like, oh, you had to understand the scene to like get this and get that. It was like, no, everybody understood what the goal was, so therefore like everybody kind of went after it. And then also it was cool because like, I think one of Calvin's unique strengths is he's very good at delegating. A lot of,
just gonna say that.
A lot of leaders.
I was gonna say, like.
Yeah, I just. A lot of leaders. It's about ego, and it's about how much they can do. And I mean, I've been to events before. I've been to dance events where, like, seriously, it started almost 3 hours late. It ended, you know, almost to midnight, or at least I was performing almost at midnight. And I mean, like, it wasn't even done yet, and it was all because the leader of the organizer of the event didn't have a good crew to delegate to.
Right.
So I mean, like, you have a good friendship with people first, and then you know what your role is, and you know what you're all trying to do. Yeah. It makes it very easy to like do it, and then nobody's stepping on each other's toes, or there's no egos involved or anything. Yeah. So yeah.
And then like, and also like everyone's role that was, you know, appointed by Calvin. Like everyone was pretty much good at what they were appointed to do, and that goes back to Calvin, like just being good at delegating things. Like when you try, a lot of organizers of events, not just dance events, but just in general, like try to do everything themselves, or it's like they may give little responsibilities to people, but not like, you know, fully empower them to, you know, make those decisions.
But they only use their friends.
Right. Yeah. And it's like, and the whole team, like the, you know, Calvin and Coco, they just made a good team.
Yeah.
And with the leadership, like, that's the most important thing, because I feel like everyone in the staff just felt comfortable to, like, if we had ideas or something, it's like, and that goes back to the not being about ego. is that it was all like a team effort, you know, like you know, Calvin and Coco, they were open to our ideas and like our suggestions and stuff, and like those ideas that came from the team, like you know, some of them were actually used and, you know, made it go like better, and you know, because the organizers, I mean, just, you know, the leaders or whatever, it's like they're not the only ones with the good ideas. You know, like it's all a team effort. Right,
or like I remember very distinctly in certain meetings, if somebody saw a problem, like I remember there was some time where DJ Kaistar saw an issue with doing something or using a certain format or whatever and made a suggestion to change it, and it actually changed the entire nature of the Keep It Live competitions. You know, or like, you know, there are just other things, you know, like time limits, you know, for rounds. You know, if I said, oh, I had concerns about going over this, then I was like, oh, okay, well, you know, what do you think we should do? And it wasn't like, oh, what do you think we should do? This is what we're doing anyways. It was more like, really, what do you think we should do? And then things would actually change based upon that. And that's just key, because like, not only does
each person brings in their own experience, like, of seeing what works and what doesn't at other events and stuff.
And that also makes people care more about the event, because that gives them more stake in it, more ownership. So
yeah. As far as events go, I would like to see more organization and more professionalism. I'd like to see the dancers treated with respect. And this is all like things that I have seen in other, you know, in like Taiwan and Japan, where it's like there can be like hundreds or like, you know, close to hundreds of dancers entering a competition, and you know, they end on time. The whole thing still ends on time, and then here in LA,
start on time too.
Start on time, end on time, and it's all very organized, and you know, the dancers, they know what's going on. Like it's very clear who, you know, who's up at what time, like who's up and who's next, and then the judges have their time to show what they can do. Like it's all just very, like, you know, it's so organized, and that's like one of my biggest things. And so that's why I was really grateful to have this opportunity with Keep It Live to like be part of the organization, you know, like you know, being, you know, if sometimes we would fall like an hour behind, but because the time was so planned out well by Calvin, and then my job was to make sure that we stayed on that schedule, we could bring it back from being behind like 45 minutes to an hour to ending on time, maybe even a little bit early.
Yeah, sometimes we'd get ahead.
Yeah.
After being behind.
Yeah, and it's like, it all comes down to like good professional planning. And then another thing that I would like to see outside of like battles and competitions is just you know, like at the club or at parties, like where, you know, street dances, a lot of the moves and stuff were created like within like the club scene and the party scene and stuff like that. So I would like to see people just dancing with each other more, like vibing with each other, share the vibe, and you know, really like feel the music, like, and let the music move you. Yeah. I think that's really important, and that's one of the things I was very happy to see with my event, United Grooves. Just dance, you know, like you don't have to do big showy moves and stuff, like you know, honestly I haven't really danced in the circle in a while, and I've been just dancing with people, and like I think, you know, just getting free and getting that like pure like feeling of like
connecting with someone.
Yeah, connecting with someone, you know, like that's one of the things I love about dancing and street dancing is like is connecting with people through, you know, movement, and like and then another important thing as far as like elevating the level of dance is having more like teachers from other styles that are besides just the LA styles, like come and teach workshops.
Pretty much I agree with everything she said, you know, having better connection within the community, not being so disjointed, seeing more appreciation for the original like teachers, and learning and knowing and living the history, you know, but at the same time, like what I want to see on top of that is I want to see progression, like, because there's certain styles that you see and they are very progressed. They're like next level. Like you watch people pop here in LA now, at least the new school cats, especially the ones that are at the top of their games, you know, like the Kid Boogies, the Frantics, the J Smooths, you know, those kind of people. I would also like to see a media venue for dance that is not related to reality TV. I would like to see like ESPN style coverage of major dance events. You know, I would like to see ESPN2, you know, shows How the West Was Won, or Battle of the Year but in America, or some other Keep It Live, you know, like on ESPN, you know, like, so it's still our event, we're still in control of things like the judging and the, you know, everything, but it's just, it's finally getting exposure on like a national media base where it's like, you know, and it's got commentary. Like that's actually one thing I as an MC try to do also, is provide slight commentary, because like that's something that needs to be developed in terms of you know, watching popping competitions or dancing competitions in general. Is you know, you have it for inline skating, skateboard, BMX, snowboard, whatever board, you know, the X Games. Like seriously, they've got this now, and I mean 20 years ago they didn't have it, or they were just starting to develop it. But I mean, you know, somebody actually developed it and now it's a sport. And I want dance to start being viewed as an art sport, you know, like where it's still an art, it's still about your expression and connection with the music, but at the same time you can still have people film a competition. You know, I would like to see that. Yeah. I would like to see people be able to watch dance who aren't dancers and still be able to appreciate it for the athleticism and the talent and the ability that it requires. And not just because some dude's doing a backflip either. I mean, I would like to see this for popping as much as everything. And for that, that might even require a greater improvement in technology, because I know sometimes it's only been recently that we've been able to be seeing certain popping techniques actually show up on recorded media, because before you could kind of see it, but you know, the film quality wasn't always quite good. So digital media increasing in the dance coverage might also help. You know, maybe even someday something like a dance federation or something, you know, where there's actually like a governing, well, or like a governing body for like competitions where, you know, you could have rules. I mean, the thing is that a lot of the times, this is another thing where our history kind of not only becomes a foundation, but it can sometimes be an anchor and hold us down or hold us back, is that because there's this attitude of we got to keep it real, we've got to keep it
street.
Yeah, street. It's like, oh, we can't have people making rules, or, you know, saying a competition round has to be this long, or, you know, like whatever. And
but
it's
in
like,
order for it to grow, it's like...
Right, it's gotten to the point now where it's no longer just like, oh, I saw this fool on the street and he was popping, so I went up and I challenged him. It's like, yeah, you can still do that and that's fine.
Organized competitions now.
But yeah, it's like, dude, you're gonna have people like, I mean, I honestly feel ashamed when I see these international competitions and you see people that come from like Taiwan, Japan, France, you know, Norway, wherever it is they're from, and they've got these incredibly well-structured, you know, competitions. Sometimes even in Germany, where they are broadcasting this stuff on, you know, German television, or Rai Uno or whatever in Italy. It needs to grow as an art sport and become more organized, but at the same time it needs to retain and develop its party roots, its social roots.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, you can do that because they do that with ballroom dancing, they do that with other kinds of like Latin dancing. You know, you can have these international competitions that are broadcast on ESPN, but at the same time you can still go to any
salsa club.
Yeah, the salsa club, and just meet a nice girl and dance, you know, like, or, you know, a guy can ask you out to dance. So I mean, like, you know, it's like that's kind of something we need to reclaim also.